What's up YouTube, it's TF Collector, and today I'll be reviewing the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class, the 13 MICROnus Prime. And before we take a look at the components of the figure, we will first take a look at the packaging. He does come in, it has a big scratch there, but right up front you can see 22 steps. There's MICROnus Prime, there's his big, I guess it's kind of like a Jaeger from Pacific Rim. I'm not really sure, because he's this little dude, and he goes in here and controls this guy. That's a whole thing we'll talk more about later, but there he is in alt mode riding a bike. Age of the Primes, the 13 MICROnus Prime. Hasbro on this side, profile image of MICROnus with Age of the Primes and his name on this side. That wonderful artwork, till all are one. Age of the Primes Deluxe Class in all kinds of languages on the back. The 13 MICROnus Prime, you have many product shots there. You have the Chimera Stone there we'll take a closer look at later. Authentic barcode Hasbro on the bottom, nothing on the top. MICROnus Prime and Takara Tomy. And one final thing before diving into the figure itself, it does of course include the instruction manual here with the 13 MICROnus Prime. There he is riding his bike, Age of the Primes 8 and up, Takara and Hasbro. And now moving to the figure itself, here is MICROnus Prime, who many consider to be the father of the smaller bots, such as the Minicons and the cassette bots and the Headmasters, all that good stuff. But before we get into the review, this is, as of the recording of this video, the 1-year anniversary of my channel here on TF Collector. So I would like to thank all of you for supporting the channel, watching all my videos, commenting, liking, engaging with me about our love for Transformers and other action figures. But now, anyways, getting into the review, we have MICROnus Prime, who you can see is in two pieces. That is his bike, and that is actually MICROnus, who we will take a look at first here in robot mode. I'm starting in robot mode with him here, because you actually have to transform him into alt mode to get the bigger robot. So we're starting with him in alt mode, or robot mode rather, here, but as you can see, just done a lot of clear plastic, which I know a lot of people do not like, but I think he looks really good. The head sculpt done very nicely there. Overall, not a bad looking MICROnus. You can see lots of hollow going on here in the back, but I'm not too concerned about that. But you can see all that clear plastic, which can be a bit of a concern for some people. Now, this guy can articulate, this little old dude. His head is on a ball joint, so you can kind of like wiggle and waggle around. He can look up, he can look down. It can do a full 360 if you use your fingernails. I'm not going to go through that pain, though. The shoulders, also on ball joints, can do full 360, go in and out. Elbows, also on ball joints, can rotate, and you do get about 90 there at the elbow, nothing at the waist. The legs can kick forward that far, backward about the same, outward you can get a full split there. The knees are also on ball joints, so you can swivel and wiggle waggle, and you do get a very nice deep knee bend, so a decent amount of articulation, not transformation. Decent articulation here for MICROnus in his little form, but we do of course get his bike also, which we can take a closer look at. And as you can see here, you have some blue going on and whatnot, blues and greens, looking very nice. The big old wheel here at the bottom that does roll, but as you can see, very nice looking bike that he can ride there. And as far as accessories, MICROnus just includes one, and it is the Chimera Stone here. This is his relic that he comes with, looking very nice with little MICROnus symbol that you can barely make out there in the middle. But basically, how you store this here in this mode is you just plug it here into his back, like so, or he can hold it if you want him to hold it. But that is your storage for your Chimera Stone here in little robot mode. And yes, MICROnus can ride his bike and look very awesome doing so. Basically, to get him ready, we just want to bring the shoulders up and rotate there at the elbow like so. Same thing there, like so. And then kind of just spread his legs out and bend his knees a little. And bringing in the bike itself, you can see you have two little slots on either side that these little tabs are supposed to go into, but I find that they don't hold very well on mine. Really, the only place of locking that I get for mine is by tapping his hands onto the handlebars. But the little tabs on the legs do help line everything up, so you can make sure you're getting him sitting on the bike properly. So you can just go ahead and line those up if you want. But if you really want him to hold on, you are going to need to have him gripping onto those handles like so. And now he can roll around. And this is like his his gear, I guess, like his standing thing. I forget what it's called at the moment, but it keeps the bike from rolling around. I forget what they're called, but you can bring these up, and that is what they say to do in the instructions. If you're having him ride around on his bike, you just bring those up, and he's got his one-wheeled bike, and he can roll off into the sunset. And for a large-scale comparison, here is MICROnus with the rest of the 13 primes that we have thus far from Age of the Primes, and I must say these figures are turning out awesome. I love each and every one of them. And I think that's about all to say here for MICROnus's alt mode, even though he's in robot mode. I don't know what you would call this. His little mode with his bike. But we can transform him into a bigger robot. Hooray for big robots. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So first we're going to need to just take little MICROnus off, and we'll sit the bike off to the side and transform little MICROnus first. So just get everything straightened back out how it was earlier, and we can get started by first rotating his head 180 degrees like so. If you haven't already, come around back here and remove the Chimera stone from his back and sit that off to the side. That will have a very prominent location in the big robot mode. But we can go ahead and bring his arms up like so, rotate the knees out to the side, and then what we can do is go ahead and bring these down like so, and they will kind of just stoop into place there. There are little baby tabs that tab in, but just like so is how you want that looking, and then just bring these sections up like so on either side. And there are little locking points here, like there's little tabs, but I can never get mine to like stay. I have a gap always, but that is MICROnus in his alt mode, his little sphere of death. But we can bring in the bike and transform it also. First off, just straighten these arms out and rip them off. Oh, this is the worst figure ever. He parse forms. This is just terrible. I'm being sarcastic, but some people absolutely think that way. But go ahead and untab these sections and bring them out to the side. That little notch just goes into that tab. And then you do have 4 places of locking right there on each of those little spurs, or whatever you want to call them. But you're going to need to get your nail in there. And as you can see, they just all poured in right there. And do the same thing on the other side. Oh, more parts forming. This toy sucks. But go ahead and get those off to the side. And the first thing I like to do is just bring this section back on this hinge here, and then widen these pieces out like so. Then you can go ahead and come here and bring these little sections downward on either side. And then come under here, grab his head, and bring it up. And that's how you want that looking for now. We're just going to sit that right there. And we can go ahead and sit his arms over there, and sit his disc of death over there, and sit the Chimera stone over there, because we're going to combine all this at the end. But first, we need to make some legs for him. So go ahead and untab these legs. You do have to make sure you get this little piece out of the way, but go ahead and straighten those out like so, and you can bring them down up here at the hip like so. And now we can really get started here. So you want to rotate these forward like so, and you want to bring these pieces down so that these tabs face the back like so. So you want that looking like that. Now what you can do is come under here and grab his foot, and it will double hinge over top like that. So that's how you want that looking. Same thing here on the other side, maybe. Untab that, bring it around like so, and that's how you want that looking. And if you want, you can flip this back in if you please. It will kind of hinder the knee joint a little bit, but you can have it sticking out in whatever you want to do there. But that's his legs, and now we combine everything. So we can bring in the robot here, and the legs will just tab right underneath of that teal piece there. So just push those back until they lock in like so. We can then bring little MICROnus himself in here, and you want his head facing up. And you can see there's just a big port right there for that post. And just push that in like so. He doesn't like to hold very securely, but just push that in like so. Then close these 2 sections over top of it, and they will tab together in multiple places, including down here right in front of the crotch. So just tab all that together, and you can see big gap right there. So what are we going to do with that? We're going to bring in the Chimera stone, and it will tab right onto the chest right there, and that's how you want that to look. And then you bring in his arms, and of course you want your thumb facing forward, and you just tab them into the side there. So just tab that one in there, come here, tab that one in there, and there you have that going. And what I like to do is just come back here and kind of just move these pieces around until they kind of get out of the way. These are kind of in the way, but you can't really do a whole lot about it. I mean, you can kind of like bring it up and bring them down. I haven't really found the best way to do it yet. I kind of just leave it like that. But that is MICROnus in his bigger robot mode. And yes, it is a very parts-forming transformation, but the result you get is a pretty cool looking bigger robot mode here. I think he looks pretty cool. But coming in close on his new head sculpt, you can see silver visor there, still all kinds of greens and whatnot. You have the Chimera stone there on the chest with some nice molded detail and some silver. A little bit of silver there on the shoulders, but all around he's kind of got gun fingers, so that's kind of cool. But the legs just done in black there. Now, my main gripe with the figure is these two pieces just sticking off the back. They kind of get in the way and just, I don't love the way they look. But overall, I don't think he looks terrible. I think it's a pretty cool looking, bigger robot mode. And when it comes to articulation, you can rotate the head side to side, but it is kind of hindered just due to the fact that this piece is back here. Can't really get much up and down. You can get a little on the hinge just due to transformation. The arms can do a full 360 if you get them around these pieces. They can move in and out. You do have a bicep swivel, almost said thigh, that is the wrong part of the body, about 90 degrees there of bend, nothing at the wrist, nothing at the waist. Unfortunately, legs can only go forward that far, backward only about that far, outward you can't get more than a full split, so that is nice. You do get the thigh rotation there, knee bend wise. Oh, we need to move that little tab out of the way that I mentioned earlier, but you do get over 90 degrees of bend there at the knee just due to transformation. As far as the feet go, can't really go up and down, but you do get a nice deep ankle pivot. So overall, he is lacking a little bit of articulation I would have liked to see out of him, but overall he can move decently well for a deluxe class. And when it comes to accessories in this mode, no, the Chimera Stone is all you get, so I guess he has gun fingers. That's his accessory. He will blow you up with his fingers. And one last play feature that we have here with MICROnus is we can turn him into a weaponizer for other figures. So to do that, we pretty much have to transform him back into his other mode, but not combine some certain things. But I'm going to show you how to do that now. So the first thing we can do is come to these arms here and untab them, and then just bend at the elbow. And now you can plug this into any of your other figures if you want. And of course, you can do the same thing with your other arm, just bend there, and now that one can plug into any figure you want. So there's some little weaponizer pieces. Then we can come here, and we do have to take this little piece back out if I can get my thumb in it. Sometimes I have to pop it out like this and then get my thumb under it. Come on, like so, and we can put that off to the side, open the other piece up, pop little MICROnus out himself. He won't be weaponizing anyone, but you can transform him and have him standing beside the person you weaponize if you want. But we're just going to sit him off to the side here for this. You can bring his legs back off, and what you can do here with this section is fold these pieces back up like so. Fold his head back down, and basically what can happen is you can tab this onto the back of some figures. The figure they use in the instruction manual is Age of the Prime's Fireflight, but you can plug that onto the back of some figures, and the last thing you can do here is come here and basically turn this back into a ball. So, well, preferably without ripping his leg off in dramatic fashion. Let's get that back on there off camera. And now that we got that back on there, we can do the same thing here on the other side. Just untab this, bring it around. Then of course bring this piece with the two little points up, bring these out. You can come here, bring this piece out, come here, bring these two sections upward, and you do want to leave the tab out this time. So you can just bring these two sections together, tab it all together like so, and in the instructions they have this plugged onto Fireflight's right arm, so you can plug that onto his arm if you want. But these are your three weaponizing pieces, so that is a cool play feature if you want to take advantage of it. And zooming out for some robot mode comparisons, first here is MICROnus with the rest of the primes that we have so far, and I think they're shaping up to be a great group of primes. And here he is with a CG image of whatever rendition of MICROnus Prime I'm able to find, so you can see what they base this character off of. So this has been my review for the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class the 13 MICROnus Prime, and overall a really fun figure here. Robot mode looks really cool. I love the alt mode where they had a little MICROnus ride on the bike. Looks great. Transformation is pretty fun. I know a lot of people will hate on it because it does have a lot of parts forming, but that doesn't bother me personally, especially the way they did it here with him just combining all kinds of little pieces to form the robot mode. I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm sure a lot of people will hate it. He stacks up really well with the rest of the primes, so I think he'll look great on the shelf with them if you are collecting the primes. That being said, he's not a figure that I think anyone absolutely needs unless you're collecting the primes, but he is a fun figure that I would recommend. And if you're collecting the primes, you'll enjoy this new prime to put with the rest of the collection. So if I had to give MICROnus a rating on the scale of 1 to 10, he's going to get a solid 8 out of 10. I think he's a really fun figure. Not quite as awesome as some of the other primes we've gotten, but he is pretty neat and fun in my opinion. Now, as far as future reviews go, we have 2 more primes to take a look at. All 5 members of Superion, and now we have 2 members of Bruticus. So a lot of catching up reviews I have to do here. I know there hasn't been a review in the last 2 weeks, and I do apologize for that. That has been because of college exams, and I just got through the first round of exams, so hopefully we can pick up the reviews here in the next few weeks. But that's all I have to say for MICROnus. And my mouth forgot how to speak English, but what I was trying to say was, never sacrifice the things you love for the approval of others. I will see you all soon, hopefully. Come on, college, let me review a few figures with more reviews, and until then, roll out. Peace.